better introduce ourselves. You must be Mrs. Savage. I'm Florence Williams.
How do you do?
We've been expecting you all afternoon. We're so glad that you come to stay with us. May I introduce Fairy May?
Say you love me.
But we've just met.
You don't have to mean it. I feel wonderful when people say they love me.
Well, I'm sure everyone loves you.
You see? I told you she wouldn't be spoiled. Welcome to the cloisters. Climate best by government test.
Thank you.
And this is Hannibal. And this is our Mrs. Patty.
How do you do, Mrs. Patty?
I hate everything in the world, but most of all I hate lightning, skunk cabbage, custard, mustard, spiders, blisters, girdles, mice, bees, keys, ragweed, chloroform, rhubarb, barnacles, bats, broken glass, eels, crumbs, drunks, tombstones, gallstones, salt, and thunder!
Why don't you like rhubarb?
Miss Patty won't answer you. She'll just recite the things she hates.
Sweet but stubborn.
Mrs. Patty stopped talking about 20 years ago.
Why? She got
Her
mad.
husband told her to shut up.
And she
She
did.
gave up conversation for life.
But she is only giving up electricity for Lent.
You're a woman of wisdom, Mrs. Patty. There's only one thing wiser than saying very little, and that's saying nothing at all. Would you like to hold it?
She likes you.
I like her.
Oh, you haven't met Jeff. Oh, come here, Jeff.
Please excuse my left hand.
Certainly. Isn't it toothache?
Oh, Jeff's face is scarred and he likes to spare people.
Well, you don't need to spare me. I have to look at myself every morning.
Dr. Innitt refuses to let me wear a bandage.
Well, we have to humor our doctors every once in a while.
And now you have met everyone. We're a small group in this wing, and we hope you find us comfortable to be with.
But Mrs. Savage hasn't met everyone. She hasn't met the Holy Terror.
Of course. How stupid of me.
Where is he, Florence?
Oh, he was here just a few moments ago.
John Thomas!
He might have gone out into the hall.
I'll see.
John Thomas! You won't hurt her, will you?
Gracious, why should I?
You won't object, will you?
Well, what is John Thomas?
Her son, what do you think?
Here?
Oh, yes. He was born here.
Oh, look. There he is. Asleep on the floor. My husband warned me I'd make a bad mother. Mrs. Savage, this is my son.
You like children, don't you?
Everyone's but my own. How old is he?
5.
He's big for 5 months.
Oh, no, 5 years.
Oh, I meant years.
If you'll excuse me now, I have to put him to bed. He has the measles. Oh, I do hope you won't catch them. Oh, excuse me.
That was exceedingly kind of you, Mrs. Savage, not to notice anything wrong.
There wasn't time to explain, but you were like lightning.
Poor Florence isn't well. We pretend for her sakes, and we hope you will too.
Oh, I will.
I think you should understand right away, Miss Savage, that except for Florence, the rest of us are free to leave here anytime we want to.
But we don't go, because there's no better place to go.
You're a very lucky woman to be accepted here, Mrs. Savage. If I do say it myself, and I do.
Oh, do be quiet!
What is that?
That rude noise is the signal for us to go to our rooms.
That's perfect pistons and no manners.
Well, ours not to reason why. I wonder why no one ever quotes the first line. It's someone blundered.
Good night.
I didn't hear you. We never say that. It means there's no more.
No more of what?
Oh, there's no more of so much.
Don't let Jeff's manner disturb you. During the war, his plane was shot down in flames, and he hasn't quite recovered yet.
Was his face burned badly?
Oh, not at all. Jeff bailed out, but he was the only one. He lost his crew. His scar goes deeper than we can see.
Surely you've guessed by now that Hannibal and I are the only guests here free to leave. We couldn't tell you that in front of the others. We'd pretend to save their pride. I'm sorry, Mrs. Patty. I forgot you were still here. I didn't mean you anyhow. Oh, I could tear my tongue out. Will you excuse me if I don't apologize for soul?
Barry has the gift of the good for saying the wrong thing.
I should think it would take a bit of doing to apologize to someone who doesn't talk insults anyhow.
He'll get used to Miss Patty. Just treat her like a clock. Look at her to see how the day goes, but don't expect an answer. She'll be happy ever easy.
Is she an artist?
I don't know if she's an artist or not, but she paints
Portraits?
seascapes, which is rather odd because she's never seen the sea.
I forgot to warn you, Mrs. Savage. Stay awake. If you go to your room, don't sleep.
What did she mean about not sleeping?
Oh, we don't. Well, we go to our rooms. We've agreed to that in principle. But we stay awake. We never close our eyes. When you go to sleep, today ends. And when today ends, tomorrow begins. Today we're safe. Tomorrow could be filled with disaster. You won't catch any of us sleeping here. Could anything be simpler?
Not much.
Today's the only certainty.
Hannibal, you heard the buzzer. Why aren't you in your room?
I am in spirit, and they say it's the spirit that counts. Remember, fight the night.
Did they all come to meet you?
Well, there was a Mrs. Patty and 4 others who have no business being here at their age.
I quite agree.
Do you think I belong here?
We're understaffed, Mrs. Savage. I'm kept too busy to have any opinions.
I'd like to know what they told you about me.
Was there anything to tell?
Did they mention my memorial fund?
Not to me.
Then they probably told you that my husband's death affected my reason,
That would be understandable.
but untrue.
Why? Weren't you happy with your husband?
I married Jonathan when I was 16. I loved him from the moment I met him until the moment he died. Do you know what that meant?
I think so.
Well, you don't, my dear. It meant that my only aim in life was to make him happy, to do what he wanted, to anticipate what would please him. And that meant that everything else I had ever wanted had to be forgotten.
But surely you had no regrets.
None while he lived. But after he was gone, I remembered all the foolish things I had always wanted to do.
What had you always wanted to do?
Things that would have shocked poor Jonathan.
Such as dyeing your hair blue?
That, and studying French, and ballet dancing, and people. As a young girl, I was sure I could have been a great actress. So with no responsibilities and time running out, I decided to be one.
But don't you think you waited too long, Mrs. Savage?
I certainly do. Had I been a fool in my youth, no one would have noticed the difference in my old age.
Oh, I would never think of you as old, Mrs. Savage.
Well, having kicked over the traces myself, and learned once again the importance of unimportant things, I decided I'd help others how the foolish things they'd always wanted.
How are you going to do that?
By establishing the Jonathan Savage Memorial Fund, a foundation for giving away money in memory of my husband. And that insane idea brought me here.
Well, you won't find it too unpleasant here. Shall we go up to your room?
Well, at least I learned one thing from my French lessons.
What's that?
What I am. I'm a mort canard. That's a dead duck. I think.
No, it's not as bad as that.
Yes, it is. Someday you'll learn that a great injustice was done to me. You'll learn that I was always quite sane. But here I am. Here they'll try to keep me with my few foolish years taken from me. If people would walk around the edge of the carpet every once in a while, it would say wearing it out in the middle.
Beautiful! Beautiful! Oh, what would we do without you, Hannibal? You bring melody to the morning.
You could be in the concert field, Hannibal, if you worked at it.
Oh, you're so right, Jeff. Golden fingertips. I simply surrender to it. I'm a rag.
Oh, do come in, Mrs. Savage.
I trust you had a pleasant, sleepless night.
Lovely, thank you. Not a wink.
Oh, you just missed Hannibal's recital.
Oh, I heard it. As a matter of fact, it's what brought me out of my room.
You wouldn't believe it, Mrs. Savage. But Hannibal never touched a violin until last year.
What makes you think I wouldn't believe it, my dear? Was it something you composed yourself, Hannibal?
Bach, with variations of my own.
That Madden's moth was certainly our game.
No, I don't quite follow that fairy.
Barry knows that I used to be a statistician.
Thank you. Now I'm straight.
Give him a fraction to multiply.
I'm afraid I wouldn't know whether he was right or wrong.
My last position was with the government, chartering trains. My job was to keep my finger on the pulse of the public and my ear to the ground.
A rather vulnerable position, was it not?
Very. I was fired and replaced by an electronic calculator.
I should think you'd hate electricity too.
Not much, but I did want to make money with my brains. So I spent the next 2 years trying to figure out something that could be made for a dime, sold for $1, and was habit forming. I'm afraid my education was wasted.
I'm going to send John Thomas to Princeton. Their boys aren't very bright, but they're such gentlemen.
Oh, that reminds me. May we ask you a personal question, Mrs. Savage?
They're the only ones worth asking, my dear.
A little bird told us that you used to be an actress. We're bursting with curiosity. Is it true?
Oh, that. Well, if being on the stage makes you an actress, then I guess that's true.
Miss Willie, she's the bird Florence mentioned, told us that you had been on the New York stage.
I wonder if we've ever seen you, Miss Savage.
Not unless you were quick. Actually, I was only in 2 plays. The first was Macbeth.
Oh, I adore Macbeth. All that blood. I sent a pint of my blood to the Red Cross once. They sent it back.
I should think you would have been a novel departure as Lady Macbeth.
I can't tell you how much I agree with you, but they cast me as a witch.
Well, you're a perfect witch.
Thank you, dear.
Please speak some witch talk for us.
I didn't have any lines. If I had, it probably would have cost me twice as much.
Why did it cost you anything?
I backed the show. If I hadn't put up the money, I couldn't have played the mute witch. But we made history. It's the first play that closed before the reviews were out.
Was it expensive?
Extremely, but worth it.
What a pity. Weren't you discouraged?
Bitterly. But man is by nature optimistic. If he weren't, he'd eat us young. So I decided I'd write a play and star myself.
You wrote a play?
I did indeed, with courage born of ignorance and a plot out of wedlock.
Oh, what part did you play then?
Naturally, the lead. Not Guilty, starring Ethel P. Savage.
What does the P stand for?
I hadn't the faintest idea. My numerologist said I needed it in my name for luck. He was right. We ran a year.
What was the play about?
A mother who murdered men and was defended by a young woman lawyer who turns out to be her own daughter. I had red hair and died in my daughter's arms every night and 2 matinees a week, just as the curtain came down and the jury whispered, "Not guilty." Oh, I've never had a better time in my life.
I gather the notices were good that time.
Well, they were sincere, but it didn't make any difference.
What did they say?
The Times said my play set the theater back 50 years. It couldn't possibly, because I stole the plot from Madame X, and that's only 40 years old.
Wouldn't you think they'd know?
But the Wall Street Journal was wonderful. It said I brought something new to the theater.
Money?
Oh, very really. Money isn't new.
What did Wall Street say?
It said I had a tenacious mediocrity unhampered by taste.
But that wasn't good.
Oh, it was perfect. In our ads, we simply said tenacious and unhampered.
And you ran a year?
We'd have been running yet if my daughter hadn't come home and stopped me. Oh, I know I was bad, and audiences only came to laugh at me, but we both had a good time. What more could you ask?
I don't think that was very nice of your daughter. Don't! Don't do it! Please don't!
Mary, what's wrong?
Look! Mrs. Savage is going to read the newspaper.
Oh, what's the matter?
I wouldn't do that if I were you, Mrs. Savage.
Please give it to me, Mrs. Savage. Please.
You mustn't read it.
It will only make you unhappy.
Now, just a moment. I know what the paper's going to say, so there's nothing you can hide from me. I've just been waiting for it to happen.
Waiting for what to happen?
Why, what it says in the paper.
But we don't know what it says in the paper.
Then why are you trying to keep me from seeing it?
We have an agreement.
We never read the papers until they're a month old.
We find we're much happier when we wait.
What are you waiting for?
Why, naturally we're waiting for. What do we wait for, Hannibal?
Perspective.
Peace of mind.
Security.
We believe it's better to read about unpleasant things a month after they've happened.
My dear people, there is something important in this paper I want to know about. And I'd like to know now, not next month.
We're only trying to help you.
Yes.
Disaster is easiest to digest when it's aged a little.
You're very kind, but I've made my bed and I want to know who's in it.
We can't prevent Mrs. Savage from reading the paper if she insists.
Florence
We
is
don't
right.
know her well enough to be rude.
Well, if you read anything unpleasant, don't tell us.
No. If there's trouble in the world, it won't help us to know about it.
right over there.
Maybe I catch the news. Why did someone mention there was a radio here?
You didn't ask us.
But this doesn't light up. Is there anything wrong with the set?
I don't think so. Of course, it hasn't any tubes.
It hasn't any what?
Tubes. Mrs. Patty steals them. She hates electricity, you know.
No one knows where she hides them.
Why didn't someone mention the set had no tubes?
You didn't ask us.
Dear, 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 dear. How high is that wall?
Oh, much too high.
It's easily 10 turrets high.
And I suppose no one ever leaves that great gate open?
Don't look beyond the garden, Mrs. Savage. There may be a better place somewhere, but if you give this up to look for it, you may not find it and lose what you have.
You'll like it here after a while.
Except in January. The rooms get a little cold.
We like you already.
It isn't that I don't find you enchanting, but you...
What?
Please don't say anything mean. Oh, do be still.
We have to go, Mrs. Savage.
But where?
It's garden hour.
We each have a plot to plant things. You can plant anything you wish. Vegetables or flowers.
Last year I planted birdseed to see what would come up.
Oh, what did come up, Fairy?
Nothing. But it was a rich horticultural experience.
There's a beautiful evergreen in the center, and at Christmas it says, Merry Christmas. Keep at it.
Come with us, Mrs. Savage. I'll show you my delphiniums.
No, please go without me. I have some serious things to do. I'll just stay here.
But the buzzer buzzed. One has to obey orders.
May I ask what you're doing, Miss Savage?
Oh, I believe in wearing the carpet out evenly.
Oh, how prudent. I'm going to help you.
But don't you have to garden?
This is more constructive.
Oh, I'm going to help too. We must all do our share.
But I didn't mean to start a procession.
Come, boys. Many feet make light work.
It's a refreshing change. Most women lead us in circles.
Go ahead, Mrs. Savage. We're behind you.
But I feel like the Pied Piper.
You step on leaves, Jeff. Hannibal, you can take buds. Mrs. Savage can have roses. And the rest of us will walk on thorns. Do you know what we're doing, Miss Willie?
Wearing out the carpet evenly.
Oh, someone told you.
Didn't I hear the buzzer ring garden hour?
I didn't hear it. I think it's broken.
Fairy, aren't you ashamed?
Oh, I wish I were dead.
I'm afraid this is my fault, Miss Willie.
I didn't feel like gardening anyhow.
But Florence, you've worked so hard with your flowers. Do you want them to die?
I don't want anything to die.
Oh, that's so true. Florence wouldn't hurt a fly. She catches them and puts them out the window. Flies adore her.
Well, I think we all better watch the garden. Fairy, share your seeds with Mrs. Savage. Run along now. Aren't you going with him, Mrs. Savage?
I wanted to speak to you, alone.
All right. What can I do for you?
A great deal. And it might be that I can do a great deal for you.
Are you going to offer me a bribe, Mrs. Savage?
How did you guess?
Everyone does at first.
Still, my offer is a little different. I have the money. I'll give you $20,000 to leave that door open tonight. $30,000.
Don't you like us, Mrs. Savage?
That's the most irritating answer to a sound business offer. $40,000. You could be free of this place too.
But I don't want to be free of it.
$50,000. You could go around the world, see Cairo, Mandalay, the South Pacific.
But I've been to Cairo. I've seen Mandalay in the South Pacific.
You have?
I had 4 years as an army nurse.
Still, you could use $50,000.
Now, where would you get $50,000, Mrs. Savage? That's a fortune.
Never mind, I can get it. And in the current Indian, 50,000 is peanuts.
Oh, I believe you, but I'm afraid I have to refuse.
Then you leave me no choice but to burn the place down.
Oh, you wouldn't do that.
Oh, yes, I would.
There are too many people here who wouldn't know how to save themselves. You would think of them first.
If you think I belong here, then why are you appealing to my reason?
I wasn't. I was appealing to your emotions.
Well, I'm going to get out of here quickly enough. It's just that bribing you would have been cheaper. Now it'll cost me a couple million at least.
Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning. Is Mrs. Savage downstairs?
She just this minute went out to the garden.
What is her state of mind this morning?
the usual. She's already offered me a bride.
What did she offer you?
The highest yet, 50,000. Poor dear.
Did she sound confident?
Definitely manic. She seems to think she still controls her own affairs.
Apparently she does. Read this. I've just been talking to her children. They're practically out of their minds themselves. The senator left Washington at once. He'll pick up his sister in New York and the judge in Boston and be here by tonight.
This is the most amazing story I've ever read. When did they discover it?
I got her this morning. They asked me to confine her to a room.
I don't understand. How could she have gotten away with so much money?
Apparently her husband left the estate to her, and she's been secretly selling out control ever since.
$10 million. That's a typographical error, isn't it?
No, they had it all right.
What could she have done with it?
As her son says, heaven knows.
Could she have spent it?
I doubt it. Will you call her in here, please? I'd better tell her what to expect.
Oh, Mrs. Savage. Would you come in here, please? Dr. Emmett wants to see you. Are you going to place her in seclusion?
Of course not. But sometimes I wish there was a way to place relations in seclusions. Always much more trouble than the patients.
Do you think she knows what happened to the money?
If she does, she's the only one.
Is there any possibility that there's method in her madness?
Miss Willie, I find it harder every day to say exactly where reason ends and madness begins. For the moment, I must accept the presumptive evidence of her stepchildren.
Well, from what I've heard, her son's record in Congress would give any good psychiatrist a nasty turn.
It certainly would, and the sensationalism of her daughter's 6 divorces wouldn't speak too well to her emotional stability either.
Did you want me, doctor?
Yes, good morning. Will you help out with the switchboard, Miss Willie? Miriam has been deluged with calls from the newspapers.
Yes, doctor.
Please sit down, Mrs. Savage.
I think I know what you're going to tell me.
Do you?
I see here the morning papers. I wonder how long it would take them to find out.
Then you're aware of what you've done and the consequences.
It's too early for consequences.
The senator phoned from Washington. We can expect them by tonight.
Indeed we can. Well, I'm not going anyplace.
How could you have possibly spent $10 million without anyone knowing about it?
Who says I spent it?
That paper says you did.
Oh, what do they know? I didn't spend it. I couldn't. I hid it.
You hid it?
In nice $500,000 bonds that can't be traced.
Why?
I don't ask you what you do with your money, doctor.
I'm sorry this has happened, Mrs. Savage, but I'm afraid your hidden treasure is going to prove a great disadvantage to you.
That's because you're a doctor, and doctors never know the value of money.
Would you like to know how long it would take me to earn that much money, Mrs. Savage?
Oh, excuse me. I just came back to get my violin. Fairy wants music while she plants her seeds.
Just a moment, Hannibal. You were a statistician. How long would it take the average doctor to earn $10 million?
Well, he'd have to start before Christ was born and work right through the burning of Rome to the burning of St. Joan and Savonarola, with time out, of course, for the Norman Conquest, the Crusades, the 100 Years' War, the 30 Years' War, and the 7 Years' War. He'd have to work double time during the discovery of America to penicillin and bubblegum. But that's without deducting federal tax, state tax, city tax, luxury tax, and school tax. You'd have 100 years for that.
Thank you, Hannibal. You see, Mrs. Savage, it's a great deal to be responsible for.
Now what's the doctor up to?
A bit of emotional blackmail, I suspect. Hannibal, would you guess to look at me that I'm worth $10 million on the hook?
Never. The human body only has 20 cents worth of calcium, 5 cents worth of iodine, and 20 cents worth of phosphorus. Even at present prices, the human body isn't worth over $1.50.
So you only value me at $1.50?
Never. You said worth. Your value is inestimable.
Hannibal, I like you. I like you very much. You make me feel important. You make me feel like dancing.
Splendid. What shall I play?
Anything.
I'm very good at the flight of the bumblebee.
Could anything be more appropriate? The bees come home and find the honey gone. Someone is going to be stung. Play, Hannibal.